Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to another exciting episode of Leadership and Organizational Development Live, brought to you by TCS Consulting LLC. I'm your host, Dr. Robin Hughes, and I'm delighted to have you join us today as we explore innovative leadership strategies, organizational effectiveness, workplace excellence, and the science behind human performance. Joining me today is my esteemed colleague and co-host, Dr. Jacqueline Brown. But before we begin, I'd also like to welcome everyone watching the replay. Whether you're joining us live or catching this episode later, we're grateful that you're here. Please introduce yourself in the comments, let us know where you're joining us from, and share your thoughts or questions. We read the comments after the broadcast and would love to continue the conversation. And without further ado, your co-host, Dr. Jacqueline Brown.
Greetings, greetings. Thank you so much, Dr. Hughes. It is a pleasure to be here with you. Together, we are committed to bringing meaningful conversation that empower leaders, strengthen organizations, and inspire individuals to reach their highest potential. Our approach is helping leaders understand how people think, perform, engage, and thrive within today's ever-challenging workplace.
Yes, thank you. Yes, together we bring decades of experience in executive leadership, industrial organizational psychology, organizational development, human resources, consulting, coaching, and higher education. Our goal is to bridge research with real leadership experience. So you leave with each episode with practical ideas you can immediately apply.
Whether you are a CEO, an executive manager, an entrepreneur, an educator, not-for-profit leader, HR professionals, or emerging leader, this show is designed with you in mind. Because our mission is real simple: to equip leaders and organizations with practical tools, evidence-based strategies, and transformational insights that create measurable results.
Yes, at TCS Consulting LLC, we believe that great organizations are built by great leaders. Leaders who recognize that sustainable success begins with people. Each week, we'll bring you practical strategies, evidence-based insights, and real-world solutions designed to help leaders and organizations thrive. Together, we'll explore how leadership, organizational psychology, and human potential intersect to create stronger cultures, higher performing teams, and more effective workplaces. So every week that you join us, we'll discuss topics designed to help you enhance leadership effectiveness, improve employee engagement and retention, build high-performing teams, strengthen organizational culture, increase productivity and performance, and develop resilient and emotional intelligent leaders. We invite you to participate throughout today's broadcast. Please introduce yourself in the comments and tell us where you're joining us from. And let us know your role, whether you're a leader, an HR professional, educator, entrepreneur, consultant, student, or someone just passionate about developing people and organizations. So if you're watching the replay, we'd love to hear from you as well. Leave your comments or questions and we'll respond after the broadcast.
Now, let's dive into today's discussion and discover how the power of leadership, organizational psychology, and human potential can transform workspaces and lives. Welcome. Let's get to it.
Yes. Okay, today we figured we kind of follow up from what we were working on last week. When we talked about why good employees leave organizations. And today we're going to talk about leadership versus management and why organizations actually need both. And leadership and management are not the same. So I guess a key question for me would be, can someone be a great manager but a poor leader? And I will start by saying yes, unequivocally, because what ends up happening, you can manage processes and you can do a phenomenal job managing the processes. But if you don't have soft skills, interpersonal skills, if you talk to people in a demeaning manner, if you do not lead, then guess what? People are not going to want to follow you. And if you're not leading with integrity, you're not trying to lift your people up and trying to train them to reach their full potential, you have some problems there. So one of the things you can do as a leader is start by making sure you equip yourself with the tools that you need to be successful in your role. It's not just a title. People respect the title. They don't necessarily respect the person. And so start asking your direct reports for feedback. See what they, see what they tell you and what that's about. So what do you think about that question?
That's a really great question. And wow, I could see us doing a series on this. But let me start and say that leadership and management, as you've stated, are not the same thing. They serve really two different functions. And there is a human governance, and then there's the organizational architecture to both sides of it. Management controls the system. Leadership governs the direction that in the strategy that people, behavior, transformation of systems, as well as ourselves. The leadership has so much more. And when you talk about being a good manager and being a really poor leader, wow, I could say I experienced that firsthand. Something that used to be, I won't say it is now, but many years ago, something that used to be very prevalent in the technology arena is that you had really brilliant technology savvy architects, engineers that went into leadership really unprepared. And that's because they were really good at what they did from a management perspective. They were leading other engineers, and everything looked like, wow, this person is like perfect. Well, they weren't perfect in that particular area. It's a big difference in managing a project, making sure that you're on budget, you're on time, and that the other folks that are part of that project, that all of the processes, all of the schedules, the compliance, the budget, the roles, the tasks, that RACI chart, the performance tracking. Managers, yeah, you could be really good at doing that very consistently and efficiently. Now let's look at the leadership, because what would tend to happen is you would see managers have great success and people would automatically elevate them for that reason. And you had leaders that had come up the same way. So they were looking for managers. They weren't looking for leaders because maybe they didn't understand leadership themselves. They weren't looking to replace themselves. A great leader is always looking to lead themselves out of where they are and bring someone else along. So leadership asks, where are we going? Why does it matter? Who must we become in leadership? So now when we move to leadership, it's not about performance and deadlines. It's about vision. It's about influence. And here's the thing with leadership, Robin. influencing people without authority. Being a leader before someone actually gives you the title or puts you over an organization. Can you influence without authority? Total transparency here. There was a point in time I was struggling in my career and I was reporting to a high-level executive, but my peers that were reporting to the high-level executive outranked me. And it just seemed like because I didn't have their level of authority. Now I'm reporting to the same individual that they're reporting to. So the fact that he didn't put me under any of those individuals, it spoke volumes. But I was struggling. And I just went in frustrated one day and I said, you know what, you're just going to have to raise my level. You need to make me level with them. I need to be their true peer, not just because I report to you. And he looked at me in the calmest way and he said, I'm not elevating you anywhere. He said, what I want you to go and do, he said, I know that they all outrank you. He said, what I want you to do is I want you to go figure out how to influence without authority. He said, and then we'll have the conversation about where you belong and what level you belong at. And so what I did, I swallowed that because leadership was in me. I went in frustration because I was upset in that moment. But when I got past the emotion, guess what? I did exactly what he said. I began to demonstrate in a powerful way influence without authority. And that's what separates leaders before they get the title. Understanding culture, understanding transformation, and decision making without being under pressure. Robin, I think we are looking at one of the errors where there's no emotional regulation. I'm sorry. There's no, and we're kind of staying lighthearted because we want our audience to really be engaged with us because we are really giving them facts and these are lived experiences. But we are in a place where emotional regulation has left the building. And so I would say that that's a main thing that you're looking for in a great leader versus a manager. Leaders are self-governed, they're emotionally regulated, they are operating off of what is practical, what makes sense, and not what's personal for them. A leader helps people move beyond the task successfully and get things completed in alignment with taking ownership and wanting to see growth. Leadership activates people from the inside out. That's a key skill that leaders have to have. Can you activate talent, genius, brilliance that sits within an individual? Can you activate that from the inside out? Because that's what keeps us human and keeps us grounded. And I'm gonna pause right there for a moment. Give it back.
Yes, that is so true. Activating it from the inside out. Because again, when you go back to leaders, they focus on the planning and the organizing and budgeting and scheduling and execution. They're making sure the task gets done and they're able to manage people to get the task done. But again, when we talk about, leaders, they create the vision.
Right.
They create that vision. They build the trust. They inspire people.
Yes.
And then they develop them, which is all of those are very important because when you invest in people and you truly believe in people, they will follow you. Yes. If you take care of people, they will take care of you. I've been in different organizations and I still have people that call me from years ago and tell me, if you ever have anything, let me know because I will come to where you're at. And that again, we talk about leadership.
Mm-hmm.
You lead by example.
Mm-hmm.
You still lead. You come from a place that you're going to do the right thing, even when no one's watching.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing stuff behind the scenes that your team may not even know about,
Right.
to elevate them.
Right.
I remember many closed door meetings where it was almost like fighting with executive leadership because they did not want to do the right thing. And I was adamant about that because, to my core, I need to be able to sleep at night. I'm not going to mistreat anyone, because it's just unfair. People come in, they want to do a job. They don't need to be treated in a demeaning manner.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need to be, I call it, raked over the coals by the narcissistic manager, intimidated by everything. And a lot of these, and I won't say a lot, let me step back. Some of the C-suite executives have gotten to where they are, and they possess what we call the dark triad traits.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually just spew venom throughout the organization, and it impacts the culture.
Mm-hmm.
But still, if you have a good leader, and I had some good leaders in those cultures, and they were still able to elevate their people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I shared a story before, and I said, I remember when we were having to do layoffs and we were eliminating some jobs. And in every department, everyone had to name someone that they would lay off or release. And I never will forget that I had one VP come forward, and he said, I select myself. He said, I do not want any of my employees to have to go through this in today's economy. I would rather it be me. I have equipped them with the tools they need to take over, and they can do this without me. You just won't have other parts that you necessarily need, but they definitely can do the job. And to me, that speaks volumes to a true leader. Mm-hmm. They did not know that's what he did, and probably still don't know to this day. Mm-hmm. But again, that's your true leadership, where you're going to make sure that your people are taken care of. When we end up talking about leadership behaviors that build trust and engagement, which leadership behaviors do you think earn that trust? I know, again, you have to look at accountability when we're looking at what, if you have a group of people and you don't hold everybody to the same standards, that creates a problem with trust. Mm-hmm. If you tell them one thing and you do something totally different, and you do not lead with integrity, that creates a problem. In addition to doing that as well, sometimes people have their favorites. We'll talk about that just a little, touch base on it, because it's a reality. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they have, nepotism. Mm-hmm. They have family members working for them and can't be touched, even though people don't do their job. So sometimes, you have to look at all that, and they're looking to that leader to ensure that everyone is taken care of. You have to hold people accountable. You have to adhere to your policies and procedures that you've actually established as a company. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, like I called, again, checking the box. They'll go in and put together these handbooks and have HR go through all of this stuff, design and implement some amazing programs, and then they're just put in the drawer and collect dust. It's just like a check mark. I've done that. I've taken care of that part. Just like DEI. So, I always tell people, and I'll briefly say that with DEI programs, I've gone in and helped a lot of organizations when they've had like EEOC issues, and I had to go in and try to help them with that and their position statements. And what I will always say about DEI is we can put the best programs in place and execute those programs, but unless we get to the core problem, which is systemic racism, and everybody's willing to listen, the leadership has to, again, all of that comes into play with your leadership, treating everybody with the same respect and dignity. What are your thoughts on it?
This is really so important, what you're bringing up. And I really hope our listeners and our audience is honing in on it. Great leaders, you talked about trust and how they build that trust and that level of confidence is they address deeper behavioral and cultural issues. Great leaders are not afraid to step up and address those deeper behavioral and those deeper cultural issues, and to have respect for different cultures. And you can do that. You can remain human, and you can remain sensitive, and you can also, and your sensitivity is heightened around your people and what the needs of your people are. And you can still maintain the goals, the objectives of everyone from the president to the CEO, all the way up to the shareholders. Because at the end of the day, there's a common goal in the corporate world. Anyone that is working in the corporate world and doesn't understand that at the end of the day, it really is about shareholder value. And honestly, it really is about the bottom line in revenue. These are just things that are business practices. People go out of business, they fail if they do not meet revenue targets, if they are not giving value to shareholders. But the leadership has to keep all of that in mind, but they first have to understand at a deeper level behavior, cultural issues, and then they have to have the ability to address it. And they have to have the ability to raise their hand and say, I need help in this area. Leaders gain trust by re-architecting the organization where the organization needs help. We talk about SWOT analysis. Well, that SWOT analysis has to go and look at where are the weaknesses and the threats within the leadership, because it could be there. And then making sure that those things are addressed. All of that builds trust. When a leader helps to develop capacity around the people, making sure that they have the capacity that they need to be successful, that builds a level of trust. And then there's just the good old-fashioned taking a look and asking a real simple question. Are we doing the right things? Because the manager is tasked with the performance. So the manager is looking at the team and asking, are we doing things right? Are we doing it right? Is this project going to unfold the way it's supposed to? They're focused on doing it the right way the first time around. The leader is focused on a broader picture. Okay, they're doing it the right way, but is that the right thing to do to begin with? When you see leaders that have that foresight and that capability to look at other things at a deeper level, that is definitely going to build trust. Someone can have a little authority, a lot of authority, and as you stated, they can check all of the boxes. But the leader, people are looking for leaders to step up and accept accountability. You know, we see a lot of RACI charts. I know in HR, you're seeing a lot of RACI charts where people come to you and say, well, Dr. Robin, they were responsible and that person was accountable, and that person we were only supposed to inform, and that person we were only supposed to consult with. Well, where you're going to hone in from an HR perspective is who had the accountability, because the leader has the accountability. I may be responsible for 25 tasks in the project, but who is the accountable person if that fails? If the project fails, who are we going to hold accountable? You're going to go after, I don't know, 15 team members and hold them accountable? I don't think so. And so this leadership that we are seeing in today's world, that's changing so rapidly. And sometimes I don't think it's changing for the better. And I'm not saying that's doom and gloom, because we have some great, great leaders. But at the same token, the poor leaders that are setting the poor examples, that's leaving an impression on others. And when you're leaving that impression, it's kind of like having children. As the parents, so shall the children follow. So leadership is so important. And so I think this is why we are beginning to see people show up in inappropriate behavior. Because, well, if the leader is saying whatever they want to say, and here's something that will build trust that a leader can do and often will to build trust. They don't misinterpret authenticity to behave inappropriately. They recognize that, because we've thrown authenticity. Oh, well, we are authentic. We are, and we just, people just brag about it. Authenticity does not mean you get to act inappropriately. Freedom of speech does not mean that as a leader, we have guardrails. As a leader, I can't just blurt out everything and give my personal, I'm going to say, prejudices. I can't give that out. I have to take and leave that. And because I don't act inappropriate and spew out everything that I disagree with in a very rude manner, that doesn't mean that I'm not being authentic. It means that I have sense enough to know that my core belief systems do not need to be thrown out and literally vomited on everybody else, because I'm here to build other leaders and to serve objectives at the highest level. And I think when you see leaders that understand that, and people will spot it, you can see it.
Yeah.
That will build a level of trust. People will be like, okay, yep, I trust him. I trust her.
Yeah. And that's definitely, that trust is very important, and having that psychological safety where you listen to your employees and they're able to come and speak with you without fear of being retaliated against or not taken seriously. I always say everybody brings something to the table, and that goes hand in hand when you're saying leaders are trying to develop them. You really take the time to listen. You build that space where they feel psychologically safe.
I'm glad you said that word again. I was going to ask you, can you say it just a little louder? One more time.
Psychological safety. People need to be able to come in and speak to a leader or even their manager and be okay with, without worrying about retaliation or fear that they're going to be mistreated or they're going to be made fun of, to where they end up shutting down. Because I've seen that in leadership where they basically don't listen to anything based on a title, when someone can actually bring in some great processes that can help you. So, I mean, leadership is demonstrated through everyday behaviors, not job titles. You don't have the job. You don't have to have the job title to be a leader. And many times I've seen it where you have someone in an entry-level position and they are still leading. So don't think that a title just, if anybody ever tells you that, and there is a difference between that leader and manager. They both have different responsibilities, and organizations need both. And so I wanted to see if we're going to as we come to an end of today's program, we want to thank each and every one of you for spending time with us. We hope today's conversation has provided valuable insights you can immediately apply within your leadership journey, your team, and your organization.
Robin, this has been such a great conversation. Thank you. You're such a gracious host. And I'd like to say, remember that leadership is not simply managing people. It is inspiring people. It is about creating environments where individuals can thrive, perform at their best, and contribute meaningfully to the shared vision and the shared purpose. And that's across the board. The corporate, not-for-profits, ministry, leadership. These principles apply across everything that we do.
Yes, it definitely does. When we look at it through the lens of industrial and organizational psychology and positive psychology, we know that organizations will flourish when leaders intentionally invest in their people, their culture, well-being, and performance. The most successful organizations are those that understand that human potential is their greatest competitive advantage. Always look at, inclusion is very important. One of my favorite quotes: diversity is being invited to the dance. Inclusion is being asked to dance.
Yes.
So,
wow. Yes. Well, we encourage you to take one key insight away from today's discussion and put it into action this week. Just pick one, put it into action this week. Small intentional changes often create extraordinary results over time.
They most certainly do. Be sure to follow TCS Consulting LLC on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube for future episodes, leadership resources, and upcoming guest experts. So if today's discussion sparked your interest and any kind of ideas for your organization, we'd love to continue the conversation.
Yes.
Whether you're looking for executive coaching, leadership development, or training, we're here to help leaders and organizations build stronger cultures and achieve lasting results. You can connect with us through TCS Consulting LLC or reach out to either of us on LinkedIn to learn more about how we can support you or your organization. And don't forget to share this broadcast with colleagues, friends, and fellow leaders who are committed to growing and they impacting and with influence.
Yes. Thank you for joining us, for being part of this growing community of leaders, change makers, and organizational professionals. Whew. Until the next time, lead with purpose, serve with excellence, inspire positive change.
Thank you for joining.